Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome to day one of my Handmade Halloween 2016 video series. I am so excited to be back with this series. It is one of my absolute all-time favorite things to do, to create Halloween cards, and I have been waiting for this for so long. So to start out, I am going to be creating a lovely spider shaker card using some amazing products from Gerda Steiner Designs. So as you can see, I started with a basic black card base. This is some Simon Says Stamp black cardstock. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut a frame using a couple of these stitched rectangle dies from Lawn Fawn. So I just went ahead and used some Post-it tape to tape those onto my cardstock so that they stayed nice and even when I ran them through my Big Shot. And when I remove those dies, you can see that I have a lovely black frame that's going to go around my shaker window for my card later. So while I have my Big Shot out, I'm going to bust out some acetate. I used my heat resistant acetate, but it turns out I didn't end up embossing on it. I thought I was going to, but I didn't. But this acetate's great because you can heat emboss over the top of it if you want to. So I'm using the largest of the rectangles that I used to cut out the frame to cut out a piece of acetate to go behind my shaker window. And then while I'm at it, I'm just going to go ahead and cut a piece of Neenah Solar White for my background using that same large frame. Now, if I were to do this again, I'd probably use a stitched rectangle die that was one size down, because I end up kind of seeing a little bit more of the background around the outside of my shaker than I wanted to, but it's totally fine. It works out just great. So I'm going to take that piece of Neenah and go ahead and Post-it tape it down to my craft mat here, and then I have this really cool spiderweb stencil from Echo Park, and I'm going to be doing some stenciling over the top of this Neenah. So I used this same stencil on day one of last year's Handmade Halloween series, so it was kind of nostalgic and fun for me to bust the same stencil out to start this series this year. So I am looking for a bright white spiderweb on a black background. So at first I thought about trying to put white ink on top of a black background, but I was like, first of all, how am I going to use a stencil for that? And second of all, I feel like the white ink just never comes out super, super opaque. So I decided to go the opposite and put black ink on top of the white paper. So I'm just using a makeup sponge because it's nice and easy. I don't care if it gets ruined or turned completely black, and I can throw it away when I'm done. And I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, which is a really nice dark black. And I am just going over and over and over this stencil with that black ink. I'm kind of dabbing it on so that it gets nice and layered. It went on super smooth, like you can't see any lines or anything. And check this out. Super bright, vivid white spiderwebs on that black background. It looks like a piece of pattern paper. It turned out so cool, guys. I'm like super excited about it. I just wiped my stencil and my surface off with a baby wipe. No big deal. There's a little bit of staining on my stencil, but who cares? It totally works the same, so not even a problem. So I have this adorable Halloween set from Gerda Steiner Designs, and I've already done a card where I used the little bat, but now I'm going to use this super cute little spider. So I stamped him in the same Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink because it works really well with Copics, and then I'm going to do some really fast Copic coloring to get him colored in. So I don't particularly like to color these types of critters like all black, because normally like a spider would be all black, and to me that just gets kind of lost because it's all the same color. So I decided to incorporate a little bit of purple. So as you can see, I pulled out some darker purples, and they kind of blend really well with the gray because they're kind of like blue violets instead of straight purples. And so I'm using my cool grays and those blue violet tones to kind of put the shadowing in purple on his legs and then blend it out into a gray. So it's pretty subtle, but I think it gives him just a little bit more pizzazz than just a flat black spider all around would be. So, I mean, that was just my idea. I don't know if it really comes across, but hey, I was playing, I was having fun. It was super, I was just so excited to be doing the first video in this series that I just couldn't even handle it. Like, I was just giddy. I'm not even kidding. I have been talking to you guys about how I'm going to start this for like forever. And oh my gosh, just so excited that it's here. I can't wait to keep creating with it. I'm just like, it's just my favorite time of year. So I went ahead and colored his little body in with all cool grays. So his body's pretty much black, but then he's got kind of the purpley legs to set it off. So I colored his eyeballs in, and you'll see later why I do that, because I'm going to use something else for his little eyeballs. But anywho, I fussy cut him out, and then I lined the edges with my black soot distress marker like I like to do when I fussy cut pieces out. And now I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card. Well, first I took a Copic multiliner, and because he's all super dark colors, I felt like some of his little definition was getting kind of lost. So I just went over some of those stamped lines with my black Copic multiliner and just deepened the black a little bit to make sure that his legs were nice and separated and his smile, little smirky smile, was really visible. But that's a step you could skip if you wanted to. So now I'm going to start putting my card together. I have this adorable Booze and Brews. I don't know, I can't say it. This really cute brand new 6x6 paper pad from Doodlebug. And this piece of paper has a bunch of little googly eyes, and you'll see later why this is the perfect piece of paper for this. So I want this to kind of look wonky. Like, I just want it to be, it turned out like really busy, which is kind of not super my style, but I just love it because it just has kind of a spooky, eerie, quirky, Halloweeny feel to it. So I'm using some funky angles, and I'm just kind of putting this behind this frame, and I have no real plan. I'm just holding it and seeing what I like and then trimming off the excess. The purple is the backside of the googly eye paper, so that worked out well because I didn't have to pull another piece of paper off of my pattern paper pad. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive all over the back of that, and then I'll line up that acetate rectangle that I cut earlier and put that right on the back of my frame so that that's all nice and taken care of. And you can see how that spider web is going to come through the shaker frame. I just think it's super cool looking. I don't know, this spider web stencil, like, totally is the bomb. I just love it, and I feel like I need to bust it out every Halloween. So I've got some washi tape here, and this is part of the Doodlebug release that the paper pad came out in also, and this is really cool washi tape because, as you can see, it's caution tape. So I just thought this was fun to put on because it's kind of got that Halloween-y, like, you know, obviously caution feel to it. So I'm just figuring out kind of where that tape's going to look okay, just wrapping it around the back. This is super loose. Like I said, I had no real plan for the front of this card. I just knew I wanted it to have like stuff on it. I knew I wanted to use the paper pad and the caution tape and the spider web stencil and make a shaker card. That was about it. So, that's about as far as my thought process went. So now I'm going to use one of the sentiments that came in this stamp set, and I love this sentiment. It says, "So glad we met on the web." So, granted, this is my Halloween card series, and this is definitely, I feel like, a Halloween card, but I just feel like it's super fun. Like, you could send it to a pen pal or something for Halloween and stamp like Happy Halloween on the inside. I didn't do that in this particular case, but you could absolutely put the Happy Halloween on the inside and just use this little sentiment. I just think the sentiment is so cool, and it goes with the spider and the spiderweb background so well that I had to use it. So I went ahead and stamped it with some VersaFine Black Onyx pigment ink on some vellum, and then I clear heat embossed over the top of it. So black pigment ink is great to do that with because it stays wet for a little while, and then you get a really solid black image. Unlike with some black embossing powders, it can get tricky to get like a really good solid black image because your little particles might not hit the whole spot and such. But if you put the clear embossing over the top, it's like just the same, and it's awesome. So then I trimmed down a strip, and then I kind of tore the end because I want it to have that kind of wonky, little bit off Halloween feel, And then I stapled that on with my tiny attacher because I couldn't figure out how to adhere it and make it look right. So I was like, forget it. I'll just staple it right on there. And I love that you can still see the googly eyes through the vellum. It's just super fun. So now I'm getting ready to build my shaker. So I have some foam tape here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. It's really easy to do if you have any non-stick scissors to cut your foam tape. It just makes it a lot easier because your scissors don't stick to your tape the whole way up. So just a little tip there. So I am doubling this up so that I have lots of room for my shakers to move. It's pretty thin foam tape, so if you only put one layer, your sequins don't wiggle around too much. And then the big thing is just make sure that everything touches so your sequins can't fall out of your shaker window. So as you can see, I made it so that the sequins are only going to shake in that top portion, and behind that pattern paper at the bottom, my sequins don't need to be shaken around. So I put a bunch of sequins directly on my card front. I like to do that so that I can match up things better. I feel like it's too hard to flip my card upside down onto my shaker window. I just can't line things up like that. My brain is goofy. So I pushed that on there, and here's where I wish that that background piece had been a little bit smaller because I wanted to keep my head out of the frame, like my big old noggin under the camera there. So I didn't lean over super far to put this on, and I feel like you can see the background on the top a little bit more than I wanted to, but it's totally fine. So now I put that little spider right in the middle of his web, so he's perching there, like waiting. I think it's so cute. And then Doodlebug came out with, look at these enamel stickers, guys. Like, OMG, I'm so excited. So I used some of those googly eyes enamel stickers to put the little eyeballs back on my spider. They were the absolute perfect size for this stamp set, like amazing. And then I'm using these little spider ones to kind of accent the rest of the front of the card and keep the whole spider web theme thing going on. I mean, like I said, it's super busy. It's like Halloween chaos, which I think adds to the like kind of creepy, disconcerting feel of the whole thing. And then I'm going to use some Spectrum Noir Sparkle overlay on his little legs to complete the project. So all my sequins in there are from Pretty Pink Posh, and they're just gorgeous, sparkling around inside that shaker window. There's a close-up of that little spider guy. I had so much fun creating this card, you guys. I am so super stoked that Handmade Halloween is back. So thank you so much for joining me today. Here's a link to some of my videos from last year's Handmade Halloween video series, as well as some links to subscribe and visit my blog where all the supplies that I used are listed. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.